Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Israeli-born New York City jazz pianist Gil Ladin. He was born in New York City, grew up in Tel Aviv, and during his childhood he was exposed to all different kinds of music, jazz, funk, and fusion through his father Gil, who was one of Israel's leading drummers. At the age of 5, he started playing the drums. By 9, he began studying classical piano, and he went on to attend the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music under a scholarship, and he is now promoting his new 2017 CD. So get to know him and dig this very interesting cat, my friends. So how's Israel today?
It's cool. The weather is amazing, actually. I just got here yesterday. I'm super jet lagged.
Thank you for taking a minute out for me today to talk about the new album, kind of talk a little bit about your life in jazz. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and start off here. Talk to me about what's going on. You've obviously flown back home, and just give me an idea of what's going on with your life lately.
Yeah, I've been working a lot as a sideman. I actually came here mainly for a bunch of shows I'm doing here. I'm playing with Greg Hardy in this jazz festival in Jerusalem, curated by Avishai Cohen, the trumpet player. And yeah, I hooked up some other shows here, and I'm going to do this Israeli CD release party. It's going to be cool.
Talk to me about this album. When Jason sent it over, there is a lot going on. It's a very robust, full sound that just kind of traverses a lot of different levels of jazz. But talk to me about this album. How do you feel about it, and what are your expectations?
So yeah, I've been working on, basically been composing music for this album for the past 7 years. I've always been composing. I have a bunch of tunes. I kind of slowly chose the ones I like the most. Yeah, I was waiting to do this for so long, but I had no money and I had no time and everything, life. And then suddenly I got to this point. I was like, okay, that's the time now, because I got a little. I did this tour with Avishai Cohen, the bass player, and also I got a little money from my landlord, because I found out I'm rent stabilized and he's been ripping me off.
Oh no.
Anyway, but he returned the money, and then I was like, okay, I think I got enough to make it happen finally, which actually I didn't have enough, but.
How do you feel about the sound of the album? Are you happy with it?
So yeah, actually I'm super happy with it. I mean, not super, but at first I was I'm not sure about it, but then I went to this amazing guy, Pete Randy, who mixed my album, and he kind of revived it. I didn't know how much mix can change the sound, so he actually did the whole mix analog. It was all through this old Neve and this tape machine and everything, and so yeah, I'm pretty much happy, and I kind of like that. It doesn't sound super new and high tech. I kind of like that it's a little dirty, the sound.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
And I like synths, so I tried to use some synthesizers, and I'm pretty happy with the results.
Right on. So you're back in Israel. Talk to me about the jazz scene there. How is it?
Well, it's super small, but very very good. There's a lot of really great musicians here. As you maybe know, but a lot of Israelis, they live in New York, and they're kind of doing great. I mean, the jazz scene in New York. I think it's mainly because the teachers here are really great, and they're all lived in New York too, and it's kind of a great legacy. And I don't know if you knew Arnie Lawrence. He used to live here, and he was kind of reviving the scene. And yeah, so the scene here is great, but it's super small. That's why a lot of people leave Israel, because there's not a lot of money and not a lot of audience for that.
Right on. So let me go back to the beginnings of your life. You were born in New York, grew up in Tel Aviv. Your dad, Gil, was a big-time drummer. Talk to me about how you ended up as a pianist and how you got so involved with jazz.
Yeah, so since I remember myself, when I was a baby, when I was a few months old, I would fall asleep while my father was practicing drum. It was my bedtime story was his drum. So I've always been surrounded with music. When I was 3, my favorite record was Herbie Hancock, Headhunters. So it was kind of for me, when Dad goes to work, it means he goes to play shows. So for me, it was kind of obvious like, oh, that's what you do, you know, you play music, like that's what I should do. And I used to be a drummer. I started playing drums when I was like 5, and then when I was 8, I started playing some piano. But I was actually mainly a drummer, and then I went to like art school for music, and I was like the drummer there. But then I decided I actually like the piano more, and I just gravitated towards the piano until I totally switched to like piano as my main instrument.
So you grew up in Tel Aviv, and then when did you come back to New York? You came back, it says you came to the new school. Is that why you came back?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really coming back, because basically I was born in New York, but I moved to Israel when I was like 5 months old. So basically I totally grew up in Israel all my life. But yeah, then when I was 20, I got this scholarship for the new school. I applied for the new school, they gave me a scholarship. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And I moved to New York when I was 20 years old. Now I'm 29. I'm turning 30 in like less than a month. So yeah, and ever since I lived there.
And you know, in New York, you've played with a lot of people, and at this point in your life, at your age, you're an influence on others. So this is a two-part question. What kinds of things did people that you played with, like Charles Tolliver and others like that, teach you about being a musician? And in turn, what are you trying to teach younger players as far as them being musicians?
For example, like people like Myron Walden, who I played a lot with, and I'm on his like 2 of his records. Like he really taught me how to like be a sideman, and like what does he as a saxophone player need from me. So I really liked, like, what I liked about Myron, that he was kind of harsh with me, and he told me things that, like, many people would be very discouraged from that, but I was like, yes, I want that, I need that, and, you know, kind of gave me a hard time, but looking back, it's really good I had that. And also when I played with Wallace Rooney, he was kind of, like, vibing me a little bit, but, like, I'm really glad I did that, because, like, it was such an amazing, you know, experience and influence, like just being with him. So I guess what I learned is, besides the things they actually told me, like Myron would literally told me, no, I want you to play this way, and I want you to do this thing. That's what I need as a leader. That's what I need from you. So this is one thing. And I kind of learned how to listen and how to, like, basically understand, like, I'm more like a sideman kind of pianist, and less than like, I'm not really playing trio a lot, although I like playing trio, but for me, sideman, it's like I like comping sax players and, you know, people. So I think the main thing that I learned is like that you need to support, like you need to know how to support the people you play with. You need to make them sound better than they are. And that's kind of my goal as a piano player, to make the other people sound better and to make the whole band sound better. It's not about me, it's about like the band, and it's about like the collective sound. I guess that's what I learned.
Yeah, cool, man. So let me ask you a general question. Why do you love jazz?
Yeah, why do I love jazz? I think it's the only music that really has freedom. That really, I mean, after you learn all the like basics and all the theory, then it's really a music that it's about like feeling, it's about sound, it's about like and you can really be yourself on jazz. Like I think, other than like, I mean, if you compare it to like classical music, you can be yourself, but you still like kind of restricted a little bit. You have to play the notes, you know.
Yeah.
And jazz is kind of like, do what you feel after you learn all the basics.
Right on. So let me ask you this. This is my final question for you. Everyone has a version of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but who do you think you are? When you wake up and face the day, who are you?
Wow, that's a really heavy question.
Yeah.
I'm just like a collective of ideas that I've been exposed to all my life. So I guess what I am is kind of like, it's changing all the time. Like I feel like every day I'm I can be someone else, you know, like, I'm totally different than the way I was when I was 20 years old. Obviously, I might be different in like a few days again. I am kind of like Play-Doh, you know, I'm kind of like, I can be in certain shapes and certain colors, but I'm still a material, so I'm like, let's say I'm Play-Doh. How about that?
Cool. I like it. And I think that's a great way to kind of wrap everything up. Thank you for taking a minute out for me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Israel, and Kansas City, along with spots all over the globe. And thanks to Edin for his time, his honesty, and his music. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.